yere uyo uko kuno apo pano mamuona kere nai.
Right, 3 October 2021, and today I want to deal with a very, very important issue, but I want to deal with this very, very quickly so that I do not lose the point that I want to make, which is the fact that one of the key and most important journalists, the most followed journalist in Zimbabwe, Hopewell Chin'ono, has been pushing a number of narratives about Zimbabwe, and these narratives have been totally false and uncalled for. And this got ahead yesterday when I was watching one of his posts where he was advising a postgraduate or a PhD graduate who is in France and saying to them, do not go to Zimbabwe, stay in France, watch and see what is happening in Zimbabwe. Or basically he was saying, do not make a move now. This is not the right time. And I want to address this issue, and I don't mean any disrespect to Hopewell Chin'ono. I just want to make sure that Zimbabweans in the diaspora understand where we are so that they do not lose out. The point where we are now in Zimbabwe, it's not the same as the time when we were in 2017. Zimbabwe has gone through a total change. And most Zimbabweans are believing the things that they are hearing on the internet, especially when they hear them from someone like an award-winning journalist, Hopewell Chin'ono. When he's speaking, they listen to him, they believe him. Unfortunately, the information that is coming from people like Chin'ono is not correct. In a business sense and in a personal sense, Chin'ono is totally wrong in his assessment of the situation in Zimbabwe. And I want to unpack this very, very quickly within 10 minutes so that people can go and get some rest. So let's start with what Chin'ono said. And he says, today I had a painful discussion with a Zimbabwean who had just graduated with a PhD in Paris. Should I come back home? She asked. I told her, wait, get a job. Set yourself in France and observe what is happening home from afar. If I was an oracle, I would have done the same in 2003 when I relocated back home. That nonsense about home being best when nothing works is sentimental BS. So let's address the problems with what Chin'ono is saying. The biggest problem is that, and that is the biggest problem with how Chin'ono is thinking about Zimbabwe, is that he thinks everything is the problem of government and everything is, the solution is going to come from government. That is totally incorrect. And now if we go into what he's saying nothing is happening in Zimbabwe, no one can succeed in Zimbabwe, only Chamisa can bring Zimbabwe back to prosperity. And he says that government corruption has brought Zimbabwe to its knees. And all these are incorrect. Now, let's start with the first one. Nothing good is happening in Zimbabwe. So this is what he told the young lady. Nothing is happening in Zimbabwe, and moving to Zimbabwe is sentimental BS. That's not correct. Young guys in Zimbabwe are doing very, very well. If you go to Zimbabwe now, especially to Harare, you can see success in Zimbabwe. And I'm talking about young people on the ground. I'm not just talking about people in the diaspora. Last week, Eddie Cross was explaining that there are 1.2 million houses being constructed in Zimbabwe. So that's basically individuals building houses. And I'm talking mansions, beautiful houses. There are small companies being built in Zimbabwe. The schools that are there in Zimbabwe, the medical facilities, the transport sector, people who are offering services in Zimbabwe. Great job. builders, suppliers of hardware materials, all these, because the 1.2 million houses are being built in Zimbabwe. Massive companies in Zimbabwe, platinum companies, gold companies, all the companies you can think of, they're there in Zimbabwe. Things are happening. So it's not true that nothing good is happening in Zimbabwe. A lot is happening in Zimbabwe. So let's dismiss that that narrative that nothing good is happening in Zimbabwe. A lot is happening in Zimbabwe. However, that information is not available to the people that are in the diaspora. So all you hear is the negative stories, but do not be cheated. A lot is happening in Zimbabwe. Life is going on. I showed you a lot when I was in Zimbabwe. There is a lot that is going on. Billions are being made in that country, including on the stock exchange, on the money markets, on the foreign exchange markets. All these things are happening. And it's not true that nothing is happening in Zimbabwe. Now, let's go to the issue of no one can succeed in Zimbabwe. There is massive success taking place in Zimbabwe. Right now, young people who are graduating from college, young people who have started their own companies, people who are working for big multinational companies, people who are working for NGOs, some of these embassies, they're young Zimbabweans who are working there. They're doing well. Government schools, doctors, people are working. But remember the rule of success. There's a 90-10 rule. If you have 100 people, only 10 people are going to be successful. The rest are not going to be successful. In whichever country you are, come down here to South Africa. The unemployment rate is 35%. And here there's not such a big informal market. In Zimbabwe, there is a big informal market. Young people making things happen for themselves. So do not be cheated. People are succeeding in Zimbabwe. They're doing well. Farmers, they're farming in Zimbabwe. There's road construction going on. Small companies, they are doing all these constructions. So if you want to succeed in Zimbabwe, you can succeed. But do not think the way that Hopewell is thinking about the situation in Zimbabwe, that the government should do everything. You have to innovate. And mark my word, you can be in any country. If you do not innovate, you cannot be in the top 10% of the successful people. So forget this narrative that the government should do everything for you. The government cannot do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. You have to innovate. You have to find ways of making it happen. Banks are giving loans. Can you make an idea and sell that proposal to a bank? So it's not the government that is the problem. You have to make it happen if you want to be successful. So Chin'ono is totally wrong on this one. People are succeeding in Zimbabwe. Then Chin'ono keeps repeating this issue that, or this narrative that Chamisa is going to bring back Zimbabwe to prosperity. He's totally wrong. Change is already there in Zimbabwe right now as you speak. And I'm not speaking here for anybody, but if you go to Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwe that was there in 2017 is not the Zimbabwe that we see now. There is a lot that has changed. The way our government is operating, the way parastatals are operating, the way everything is happening in Zimbabwe has changed. So the change that Chamisa was promising during the 2018 elections, some of that has already happened. So if you look at the roads, I was talking to a senior person in the MDC today, and they admitted that roads are being fixed. I was on the roads myself. Roads are being fixed. Not only roads, but the dams are being constructed. There is a lot of change taking place. If you move around in Harare, you can see that it's not the same Harare that was there. And the government is not even in charge of Harare. Harare is being run by the councils, which are not doing a good job. But you can see that change taking place. So change is already there in Zimbabwe. It's happening. If Chamisa is going to be campaigning in 2023, he's not campaigning on the issues that he was campaigning on 2018. Because already President Mnangagwa has done some of the things under very, very difficult conditions with the sanctions. And I would want to hear Hope we're talking about sanctions one day. There is no country that can succeed with sanctions on them. And no matter what you say, Zimbabwe is not the worst country in the world. It's not the country with the worst human rights record. A lot is being done. The government is opening up, and journalists are allowed to operate in Zimbabwe. The issues that were raised to bring Zidera in place, they are being addressed, or in fact, they have been addressed. When we go to the economic issues, there is stability on the currency markets, and this is something that is there for everyone to see. Since 2017, the Zimbabwe dollar has been very, very stable. And when I went around, there was a struggle for people who are buying in Forex. They are struggling to get change. The people who are buying in local currency, they're buying easily. There's no shop that says, don't come here with your local currency. So the issues that Chamisa is going to bring about a sudden change in Zimbabwe or a massive economic change, that is not true. What is going to bring change in Zimbabwe is the removal of sanctions. If you remove sanctions today on Zimbabwe, you make sure that there is free flow of funds from within and into Zimbabwe, and you make sure that American companies are allowed to invest into Zimbabwe, and also all these big companies that have been prevented from doing work, Zimbabwean companies that have been prevented from selling outside the country. If those sanctions are lifted, you have success coming to Zimbabwe. So there are structural issues, but there are also a lot of issues to do with sanctions. So I do not believe what Chin'ono says, that Chamisa is going to suddenly bring prosperity if he comes into office. In fact, because of the disorganization in the MDC alliance, Chamisa is going to lose in 2023. It's not only me saying that. I have brought you here international think tanks who have done the assessment over the past 2-3 years. They show that Chamisa is not going to win the 2023 elections. So Chin'ono's narrative that Chamisa is going to bring success to Zimbabwe, totally out. That is not what is going to bring success to Zimbabwe. We have a lot of important issues to deal with in Zimbabwe that, if they are not resolved, even if you bring an angel to become the president of Zimbabwe, the issues won't be solved. There will still be issues in the economy of Zimbabwe, but it's not the current government's problem. Right. Now, let's go to the final issue that Chin'ono always cries about, which is the issue of government corruption. And I must say, on this one, Chin'ono is totally wrong. The government of Zimbabwe is the least corrupt government in Southern Africa. If you look at South Africa, the corruption that is in South Africa, government corruption, is shocking. Not only that, in South Africa, they are organizing hits on whistleblowers. I need you to just go in and look at how many people have been killed over the past 2 to 3 months in South Africa over corruption in local authorities, in government companies. In one instance, a young woman was recently killed in front of her gate after she dropped off her daughter, after she refused to pay about 200 million rands to corrupt companies. And recently, a young man, he had 800 million deposited into his bank account for PPEs. I'm talking 800 million here, rands. And that is one young man. He had 10 companies which were being paid. Some of the payments were for money that is not being, for work that has not been done. The Department of Health here in Gauteng has been hit by corruption that almost 80 to 90% of the 20 billion that was allocated for PPEs cannot be accounted for. That is massive corruption. And the investigation in this corruption is ongoing here in South Africa. It is massive. When I was an auditor back in 2006, I used to do audits in KZN. And the witnesses or people who did whistleblowing, they would get killed during investigations. The situation in a country like South Africa is shocking when you talk of corruption. If you look at countries like Zambia, even if you look at Malawi and Mozambique, the corruption in these countries, Zimbabwe is a baby when it comes to corruption. And I'm not saying this to learn that these guys were in Zimbabwe, the government of Zimbabwe. All I'm saying to you is you cannot give an excuse of corruption for the issues in Zimbabwe. We have structural issues in Zimbabwe, we've got sanctions issues. And everyone needs to be working on these big issues. Government corruption is minimal in Zimbabwe. And I do not buy the narrative that Chin'ono is selling out there. And that Zimbabwe government is corrupt to the extent that it has brought down the country to its knees. If you go back to the era of Mugabe, it was worse. The corruption in Mugabe's days was worse. No one could question those guys. And you saw that the Auditor General in Zimbabwe was able to report on the issues that are happening in Zimbabwe. There's also the anti-corruption body, which is working in Zimbabwe. Compared to here in South Africa, how many people do you know, or how many whistleblowers do you know who have been shot dead in Zimbabwe over the past 2 years? Here in South Africa, I can count for you over 20 easily, and in cold blood, including top policemen who are investigating these cases of corruption. So let's not give these narratives about a country, and also let's not mislead people. And what is happening here is that Chin'ono has been at the forefront of misleading young Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe and young Zimbabweans in the diaspora about the situation on the ground. So let's deal with the solution. And I want to go into, let's say you are a person, a young Zimbabwean out there. If you go to the diaspora, you can buy a house, you can buy a car, your kids can go to school, but you certainly have a lot of debt. You will not be wealthy. You work for hours, and the saddest thing is that when you die, they are going to put you in a box and ship you to Zimbabwe and bury you there. That is the worst thing. Take it from me. I was very, very sick a few months ago. The thought of dying and just going to Zimbabwe to get buried and living this inconsequential life, it's painful, and it's painful for many Zimbabweans. If many of you saw Shepherd Yuda 2 days ago, he was reduced to tears when his relatives passed away in Zimbabwe, and he could not bury them. And this is something that is real. If you really want to succeed, to do well, to become wealthy, do it in Zimbabwe. You can do very, very well, but you have to innovate. You have to be innovative. You have to think deeply. You have to work with other people. So the solution is in the suggestions that are coming from the government in the latest diaspora policy. And what they're saying is, Zimbabweans in the diaspora, group yourself up and invest together, because it's hard for you to do it by yourself. It's very hard. Group yourself together, come up in those groups, engage government, and invest. We have done it. We have raised R1 million at least easily over the past 4 months. You can do it if you're in the diaspora, but do not spend all your time debating inconsequential issues or minor issues. Those are not the important issues. Do not compare yourself to someone like Hopewell. He is in Zimbabwe, but it's not clear what his business is. I would like to question what kind of business Hopewell does, which will enable him to stay in Zimbabwe, to buy a big house in Zimbabwe, and then to to then turn around and tell other people not to go to Zimbabwe. I'm totally against it, and I think Hopewell needs to change his narrative, and he needs to be questioned. People need to question what he's saying about Zimbabwe and the approach that he's using. And I'm not talking about ZANU-PF people. I'm talking about a normal diaspora person. Think harder. What is the purpose of all this daily attack on the country? And yet, it's clear when you go on the ground, you can see that it's not a broken country. The way that these people are describing, the way that Chin'ono is saying every day on Twitter, on Facebook, on a daily basis. And what is the end result? Obviously, we know for a fact that Chamisa is not going to win in 2023. What happens if you keep waiting for Chamisa to win, if he doesn't win in 2023, or when he doesn't win? What are you going to do? So forget politics. That is my suggestion to you. And start thinking about going back to Zimbabwe on your feet. Don't go in a box, because that is what is going to happen to many, many people who listen to all these stories about Zimbabwe not doing well. No one is going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. Now, I want to quickly go through some comments here, important comments. And then tomorrow I'm going to bring Mr. Tinashe Jonas here. John 1, we're going to look at the projects that the government of Zimbabwe is doing. Remember, those are the projects at a macroeconomic level. Here we're talking at a personal level. The success of an individual. The person was misled by Hopewell to stay in France with a PhD. They're not going to do well. They're going to be paying their student debt for years, and they're going to be living in a little flat. And after 10 years, they're going to look back and realize that the advice that I got from Chin'ono was wrong. I should have gone to Zimbabwe, started my company, and did very, very well. Right, let's look at, I want some serious people here. I don't want people that don't think seriously. Right, stop it, Gambakwe. A lot of people are suffering. And Makosi, I want to answer you. Of course, the world is not fair. Of course, a lot of people are suffering. But it's not in Zimbabwe only. Come here to South Africa if you want to see people suffering. I was in the United States in 2010. I did not just fly into the United States. I hired a car and I drove 5,000 kilometers. I saw people sleeping on the street. I saw companies closed. If you go to Maine, they were basically begging companies to come and invest in Maine. It's a province there in the States. And they would make them not pay tax because of the unemployment. A friend took me on a drive. We drove for kilometers and kilometers. And on the right of the road, there were massive companies that had closed. So don't think suffering is only in Zimbabwe. Come here to South Africa. Young people are suffering. Everywhere people are suffering. But don't make that an excuse to say don't come to Zimbabwe. That's not the only place where people are suffering. Gambakwe, we all know that you're ZANU-PF. Okay, let's address this. Chin'ono always accuses people of being ZANU-PF. What's wrong with being ZANU-PF? ZANU-PF is just a party, like MDC. So what's wrong with being a member of ZANU-PF? If I one day come here and I announce that I'm a member of ZANU-PF, so what? You see, that intolerance in the MDC alliance, that is the real BS, not what Chin'ono was talking. Allow people to belong to a party that they want. If someone wants to be ZANU-PF, let them be ZANU-PF. Don't raise it. No one is going to hide. You saw me walking into the ZANU-PF head office. If I wanted to be a member of ZANU, you know what? I was going to tell you that I'm a member of ZANU-PF. I'm not made by a party. I started Gambakwe Media in 2009. That is the way I love Zimbabwe at that time. It was not the political party that formed Gambakwe Media. We have never taken a cent from ZANU-PF. We've never taken a cent from MDC. In fact, I spend lots of money of my own covering MDC, giving them publicity. Do not worry about who is ZANU-PF, who is MDC. What we're talking about here is money. How do you make money? Young black people in Zimbabwe, you're going to be left again when things normalize the way you want them to normalize. You are not going to catch this opportunity because you think about a political party. Where have you ever heard a white person saying, this one is ZANU-PF, this is MDC? They go to their golf clubs, they go to their beer drinking, and when they come back, their kids have got a job, they've got a company tender. You're thinking about a party. What is a party? Just a political party, like a church. So if Pardon says something, oh, Pardon, you belong to Zayoja, or Pardon, you belong to AFM. What is that? You see, doesn't make sense. And yet, every day, we hear about these political parties. Forget about political parties. Too much politicization in Zimbabwe. And the people that you're talking about, MDC, it's a broken thing. There's nothing called MDC. There are at least 4 or 5 factions of MDC. And then I don't get it. No, like it really, I don't get, especially Hopewell when he accused me of being ZANU-PF. I don't get it at all. And all the guys here who are saying ZANU-PF, ZANU-PF, it's a party. Get over it. Let people belong to ZANU-PF if they want. Now let's go to Danny Mastemba. Zimbabwe people listening to you now, 95% don't agree with you. That's a very poor survey. And I don't want you to agree with me. In fact, I want you to hear me out. Then I want to hear your opinion. But what I disagree with is someone who openly sees one side every day. Never a day when you see the advantage, the good things happening around you in Zimbabwe. Why is that? Why is that Chin'ono never sees anything that is happening in Zimbabwe that is good? Always criticizing, and in fact going on foreign platforms to talk about the country and to discourage other people from investing in Zimbabwe. Why? So that is why I'm saying you cannot do that. And in 10 years' time, it will be Chamisa in power or whoever else. President Mnangagwa's term is ending after 2023. He goes for another 5 years, and then someone else comes. In those years, you are still going to see Chin'ono criticizing other people. When are you going to see the good things that are happening? Right. Let's look at Trash saying Chamisa is to fix MDC first before you can talk anything else. I don't have a problem with Chamisa. Chamisa's party is at the level where he is. They will never move beyond that level until Chamisa changes the way he thinks. And I can assure you, 2023 will be here, and Chamisa will be losing again. And I'm not saying this for any purpose. I gain nothing from Chamisa losing, but he's going to lose because he does not listen. Right, let's go to Gamako, you're now astray. Even the government itself has admitted that corruption is an issue. Be objective in your analysis. I said corruption is an issue, but not government corruption. And I also said that Zimbabwe is not the worst corrupt country. So I agree that there's corruption, but not to the extent that the sanctions are hitting Zimbabwe. Sanctions are the biggest problem in Zimbabwe, not corruption. I want to see a day when I can put my money in Zimbabwe without issues. Try to move money into Zimbabwe and see what happens. And these are the problems. The money that we're losing in charges. People are moving 6 billion into Zimbabwe formally, or whatever. I don't know, in a year. Let's say 6 billion. At least 20% of that money goes to bank charges, to these big international money transfer companies. That's a tax on our country. I wish the government of Zimbabwe would do something, introduce a cryptocurrency, like what has happened in other countries, to circumvent just the money that we're losing in money transfers, because people cannot move money properly. There is no proper payment system in Zimbabwe. Companies like Visa, MasterCard, they're not operating in Zimbabwe. We need a proper economy to function, but it can't function under sanctions. So let's not talk about corruption. Corruption is little. If someone steals $1 million, that's nothing. We're talking billions here that we're losing as Zimbabweans in investment, in opportunity costs, and also in terms of just money that is leaving the country, not coming back. Someone says, should I go here? And they can't because of these sanctions. These are the issues, guys. The issues are not this 1 million or someone bought a Benz here. How many Benzes are there in Zimbabwe? How many people in government have built a mansion? Zimbabwe is not the most corrupt country. If you want to see corruption, come to South Africa. The most corrupt country in Africa after Nigeria is South Africa. In fact, I think Nigeria is better. Now let's look at. I want to end this now because it's 30 minutes. And when it comes to Hopewell Chin'ono, I think I would like to. I had a lot of respect for him in the beginning when he got arrested. I thought that was uncalled for. But where he's going now is totally offside. It's not called for to every day attack your country, and also to encourage other people not to see the opportunity in your own country. I wish one day we could engage him and we have a real conversation about what are the issues in Zimbabwe, and then we can deal with it. And we need to make money. Right now, no one is making money because of all these peripheral issues. We need to make money. Everyone needs to make money, and we want people to stop, especially this supporting of the sanctions. Imagine if everyone was going to say, let's not have sanctions in this country. What was going to happen? Okay, you Gambako, I think you're the one misleading people daily. But I challenge you, if I've misled somebody, let me know. If you mean I've misled someone about Zimbabwe, I show you evidence of what is happening in Zimbabwe. I do not talk theoretically. And I didn't even stay in Zimbabwe for long. I was only in Zimbabwe for a few minutes. Like I went there for 2 weeks. I'm going to go back in December. But really, I don't want to mislead people. Go home, everybody. If you are a Zimbabwean, go home. Start doing things over there. I told you the airplane that I was in was full. The airplane that I came back with was full. People are going to Zimbabwe, they're doing things. And I don't get it. I don't get people who are talking down Zimbabwe. It's a place full of opportunities. Right. Mandisa Vilakas, I think this is going to be the last comment I want to read here. If someone steals $1 million, nothing. Gambakwe, did you take a medication? Yeah, I said compare stealing 1 million to 20 billion. And in South Africa, find out what happened to the PPEs. I challenge young Zimbabweans to do their research. Zimbabwe is not the most corrupt country. And government corruption is not the biggest corruption in Zimbabwe. The most corrupt companies or people or organizations in Zimbabwe are private companies. People who are stealing in broad daylight, externalizing gold, platinum, whatever you can imagine. The most biggest corruption in Zimbabwe is not from government. It's from the private sector. It's from the people that you don't expect. Those are the biggest, most corrupt people. And all this government corruption talk is just sidetracking or a distraction. Don't believe it. Don't believe that the government of Zimbabwe can steal more than some of the biggest platinum companies in Zimbabwe. And lucky for me, I've been on both sides. I stay here in South Africa. I see what is happening over there in Zimbabwe. And if there was so much corruption by government, it was going to be visible. These guys are not the richest guys. And the richest, one of the top 5 richest people in South Africa is the president of this country, if you want to know. Right. I enjoy all your comments, guys, but I can't keep going. Why are they not arrested? That's corruption. Well, I think you understand how things work. Guys, I just want to say to you, be proud of who you are. Be proud to be the people that, the person that you were born as. Do not think if you are a junior in a company in the United States, you're going to be wealthy. Go home. This politics that people are playing on Twitter, the guys who got the fellowships, the scholarships, the guys who've got the who get the government, the grants, that money is nothing. You can make a lot if you innovate. And when you see Chin'ono speaking and giving all these things that he's saying on these social media platforms, question them and take it from me. I have opposed government policies and government programs. But what President Mnangagwa has done in these past 2 years, under immense opposition and limited resources, is amazing. It's great stuff. I was at the airport. It's amazing what they're doing there. And other people are noticing. However, what we need to do is, as a private sector, as the private people, we need to do more. We need to start pitching in. Don't always look at the government. The government is not the solution to everything. Young people must also do their own part, play your part as young people. Right. I think I've talked enough and I've vented here. And I think let's have this conversation. Let's keep it going. We've got projects in Harare, projects in Bulawayo. And guys, if you're in a certain country, come together, form a group, put $100 together a month. If there's 100 of you, it's very quick. You have $1 million very, very quickly. And don't waste your time on politics. Don't go home in a box. Don't be buried in Zimbabwe with nothing, with no memory, and your kids don't even know which direction you came from. And don't undermine your own country. There are countries which are way worse with no resources out there. And I think I'll deal with this tomorrow, Mr. Jonasi. Let's show you some pictures, some video. Tomorrow I want to show you some video of some of the things we're talking about, the projects that government is doing. But we need to do more as people in the diaspora. And Chin'ono's narrative is totally not correct. Right, I think we're done. And let's meet again tomorrow. Good night to everyone. And sorry for talking for so long. Thank you very much. And we'll talk again very, very soon.
Ay, 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 ay.